And welcome back. We continue now our BNC exclusive, our conversation with Veterans Affairs Secretary Denis McDonough. Now, yesterday we talked about suicides and the vaccine rollout in the ranks in the department. Today we take a closer look at the number of veterans who took part in that January 6th insurrection, many either active duty or retired. We also pointed out a problem that the Secretary didn't know about. It deals solely with black veterans who were tasked with integrating the Army and who are now dying from COVID. Towards the end of the interview, you'll hear how he accepted a challenge that is unique to these soldiers and this network.
Well, let me start with the flip side of the story just for a second, which is that we also saw in some of those amazing Capitol Police officers, those amazing Washington, D.C. Metro Police officers, and the members of Congress and members of the Senate themselves. Ruben Gallego comes to mind. And this is an opportunity where we saw veterans continuing their support for our democracy, even out of uniform. So that's point one. Point two is we're trying to get to the bottom of what happened that day. This is really, at the moment, an investigation question for the Department of Justice. They're looking very closely at this. They're going to take a hard look and get to some questions about who should be indicted and so forth. Then we'll make some decisions about what we do about it then based on the law enforcement investigations. The last thing is just this, that if there's anything that we can do to prevent the radicalization of any of our vets, we're going to do that. And we're not precisely sure what that will look like yet, but we'll make those decisions based on the facts. But again, I don't want to let the facts get too far ahead of us. We saw vets doing the right thing that day too, the courageous thing. And you've been reporting on these stories too, of really remarkable vets of color, or black vets who are Capitol Police officers doing amazing things. I'm proud of that work too.
Yeah, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that. And I recognize that you still have that new furniture smell in your office because the administration is young. But that being said, moving forward, what can you do depending on what justice finds? Are you doing anything proactive now versus waiting on justice, or are all eyes right now on Merrick Garland?
Look, I think the main issue around January 6th is to let the investigators do their work. That's their work. That's their line of effort. Our job here is to take care of our vets, ensure that they get the resources, the support that they've earned, that we serve them as well as they've served us. I'm not going to rush to any judgments. I'm going to let the investigators work that out. In the meantime, we're going to make sure that we're investing in all of our veterans. We're going to make sure that VA is welcoming veterans of color, women veterans. Our fastest growing cohort of veterans are women, and LGBTQ vets, and then we'll stay on top of this issue going forward.
I want to talk to you about an issue that came to our attention, and you can say, I don't know, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to fix this, because it seems to be relatively new. COVID is claiming lives at a rate no one has ever seen before, and a lot of those lives are veterans. And when you talk about the African American community, there were 600,000 African Americans who served in the Korean War, and they are now dying at large numbers as well. But their families don't know that they are eligible to be buried in Arlington. How do we address this vacuum of information with regards to Korean War vets who may not even want to talk about their war experience, let alone walk away from the benefits they might have as veterans and soldiers?
Here's what we should make sure that vets and their survivors and their families and their caregivers understand, which is that we have a whole administration, the National Cemetery Administration, whose job it is to ensure that we have a lasting tribute, a final resting place for our veterans, so that we pay lasting tribute to their service to us. And so through va.gov and through the NCA, the National Cemetery Administration portion of our website, families can come to understand the kinds of services that are available for burial support, including in our national cemeteries. And I hope they do that, because this is precisely what we aim to do by having a lasting tribute to that service.
Knowing that so many Korean War veterans came back after Truman integrated the Army, and they were spit on. I mean, you know, my father told me the stories. My best friend buried his father recently, a Korean War vet. Should there be more outreach on the part of the Department of Veterans Affairs to let the families know that, hey, your father or your mother may not have talked about this, but it's there? So, yeah, the website is there, but what about more outreach? Should there be more?
Look, it's a fair question, and let me take that and see just how much outreach we're doing, because I think you're raising an excellent point. Even after President Truman's decision, what we do know now, given research and the subsequent stories and the subsequent experiences of, for example, your friend and his father, or you and your father, is that, in fact, sometimes racially motivated violence was motivated particularly because our veterans were veterans. And so I think it's a fair question. It's a fair challenge. So I take that. I take that on, and let me see what I can do about it.
And we accept your challenge. How bad was it? One veteran coming back from Korea, beaten until he was blind. We will check in with the VA Secretary periodically to see what we have learned about the VA Department's outreach to those black veterans and their families. Our interview continues tomorrow, and we will be right back.